Greetings everyone to what will hopefully be the first of many informative videos for our 8-week 2-session of Managerial Economics. So today we're going to be going over this math review that I assigned you guys, you students, y'all. And the first thing that we're asked is we're asked to get the equilibrium quantity and price. So let's go ahead and start working on that right now. So the way to get an equilibrium quantity or price, right, this is where the quantity demanded is equal to the quantity supplied, okay? And so we're really just going to take that quantity demanded part right here and put that right here, so it's going to be 50 minus P over here, and then we're going to take the quantity supplied part and put it on the other side of that equal sign, okay? Just ignore this 8 here, there's a little typo. So now at this point, we're just going to go ahead and solve. So we have a system of equations, well, we have one equation and one unknown. So we know that we need to have the same amount of unknowns as equations, right, in order to be able to solve. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, we're going to add P to both sides. What does that do? That gets rid of this P. So then we end up with 50 equals, what's 0.5 plus 1p? It's 1.5p. And then this is going to be minus 10. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to add 10 to both sides. These 10s annihilate each other. Boop. This 50 plus 10 is going to be equal to 60. 60 equals 1.5. Oh, again, 8. 1.5. Pardon me. Let's go ahead and stop that. And then all we have to do is just divide both sides by 1.5, and that gives us our equilibrium price. So our equilibrium price is $40. So we're asked not just for the equilibrium price, but also for the equilibrium quantity, right? So how do we go ahead and grab that equilibrium quantity? Well, we would just go ahead and put this price into either one of these equations, all right? So let's go ahead and we'll just do both for thoroughness. So quantity demanded is equal to 50 minus P. If we go ahead and put the 40 in as the price, that means that the quantity demanded is equal to 50 minus 40, which is equal to 10. Now let's go ahead and do it in the quantity supplied equation. So the quantity supplied equation is equal to 0.5p minus 10. We're going to go ahead and put that 40 into the p, so we end up with quantity supplied is equal to 0.5 times 40 minus 10. And so this is going to be 0.5 times 40 is 20. 20 minus 10 is 10. And so these things should be the same, which they are, right? Our quantity demanded is equal to 10, or quantity supplied is equal to 10. So these things are equal to the same thing, which means that our quantity star is equal to 10 units when we're at $40. So that's that first part. So what else does it ask? Well, it asks us about a price floor and about a price ceiling. So the best way to tackle these problems, I think, is to go ahead and use your supply and demand graphs. All right, so we're told it's a price floor of $48. All right, so let's go ahead and very quickly just do a rough graph here. We've got price over here, quantity over here. We've got a upward sloping supply curve. We've got a downward sloping demand curve. We know that where they meet the equilibrium, we just figured that out. It's going to be what? 10 units. And it's going to be at $40. And so we're told, what if there is a price floor of $48, right? So the first thing that we have to ask ourselves whenever we're given these price floor, price ceiling questions is it binding, right? So is a floor of $48 binding? And what I mean by binding is, does it actually do anything, right? So a price floor means that it's a price below which they cannot charge. So the government says you cannot charge below $48. And so we see that this $48, since it's above the equilibrium price, we can tell that this is, yes, this is binding. Why? It's because the price floor is greater than the equilibrium price that we discovered earlier. All right, so now that we have this graph and this setup, I think it's a little bit easier for us to figure out what the quantity demanded is, right? That's this green line and the green reflection. What the quantity supplied is, that's the red line and the red reflection off of the line, right? And so how do we get these quantity amounts here, right? This quantity supplied and this quantity demanded. Well, we're given equations for that, right? At the very beginning, we're told quantity demanded is equal to 50 minus P. So quantity demanded is equal to 50 minus P, and if we're told that the price is $48, then that means the quantity demanded here is going to be what? Only 2 units. Now let's go ahead and figure out what the quantity supplied is. So at that price of $48, the quantity supplied is given to us by this equation, right? 0.5P minus 10. And so we're just going to go ahead and reproduce that. Then we're going to go ahead and put this 48 into the P. So 0.5 times 48 is 24. 24 minus 10 is 14. So we have a quantity supplied of 14 and a quantity demanded of 2. So we are not in equilibrium, right? And now we know that because why? Because we know that the price floor is binding. So, and we can also just see this graphically, right? That the quantity supplied is going to be greater than the quantity demanded. All right, so there's a similar process that happens with a price ceiling. And then there's a concept of full economic cost. So let's just go ahead and real quickly, we'll do the price ceiling and full economic cost, and then we'll call it a wrap for this video. All right, so once again, I'm gonna start with our supply and demand graph, just because I feel like that's the best way. You know, economics is a diagrammatical representative science, social science, right? And so the core of it is graphs. So we have an upward sloping supply curve. We've got a downward sloping demand curve. And we're going to end up with that same equilibrium here of, what was it? It was $40 and 10 units, right? Those are our equilibrium. That's our P star and our Q star. That's not changing, even though we have price floors or price ceilings imposed, right? That equilibrium only changes if either of these schedules changes, right? So this demand curve, we know it's just 50 minus P, and we know the supply curve is still 0.5 P minus 10. All right, so now we are asked, what if there's a price ceiling of $34 imposed? So price ceiling of $34 imposed. Let's take a look at that. So 34 we know is going to be lower than the $40, right? And so it's going to look something like this. And this is our price ceiling. And again, we're going to ask ourselves, is it binding? And now when we're talking about a price ceiling is a price above which the government says it's illegal to charge things. And so a price ceiling is binding so yes, this is binding. Why is it binding? Because the equilibrium price is greater than the price ceiling. Okay, so now we are asked a couple of questions. We're asked those same standard questions in terms of what is the quantity supplied, what is the quantity demanded, what is the so this is going to be a shortage. Up here we had a surplus, right? And I didn't calculate that, but we can calculate it really quickly. A surplus is equal to the quantity supplied minus the quantity demanded. And so a surplus is going to be, for here, it's going to be 14 minus 2, so it gives us 12 units. So that's our surplus for that first one. Now we're dealing with a price ceiling. So with a price ceiling, we find that we actually have more people that want the good. The quantity demanded is going to be greater than the quantity supplied, right? This is a flipped situation from a price floor. And so at a price ceiling of $34, how much are we going to demand? How much is going to be supplied, right? So our quantity supplied, we know, is 0.5p minus 10. And so at $34, we end up with what? This is 17 minus 10 is going to equal 7 units. So at this price, at $34, there's only 7 units that are supplied. But how many units are demanded at $34? So this is going to be 50 minus P. And so we know that P is 34. So this is going to be what? 16. So we have 16 units demanded, and we have 7 units that are actually supplied, right? And so this is a situation which is called a shortage. So this is a shortage where there's not enough supply to cover the demand, and a shortage is equal to the quantity demanded minus the quantity supplied. So this is going to be 16 minus 7 units, which is going to give us what? 9 units. Now that's not all. We have one slightly aggravating follow-up question that we're asked, and so we're asked, what is the full economic price? So what does this mean? This means this is what is the price that is part of the demand equation when only 7 units are supplied. So how are we going to calculate this? We're going to go ahead and we're just going to take this demand equation, and then we're going to have it equal to 7 right there. And so this is telling us, well, hold on a second. Actually, I got this a little bit backwards. So this is, what is the price when the quantity is equal to 7? No, I got that right. So it is, just takes a little bit of work. So it's 7 equal to 50 minus P. And so what are we going to do? We're going to add P to both sides. This is going to be 7 plus P is equal to 50. And we're going to end up with P equal to $43. So that is the full economic price. All right, I hope that helps. I'll make another quick video about the inverse demand curve, and please don't hesitate to send me any emails with questions. Thanks so much.